Hey everybody, we're here for another episode of RLG Cast Reviews. I'm here with JohnnyDonuts and I'm here with the Puttyman. Today we're talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse Part 2 Across the Spider-Universe, not the Beatles song. Um
Da-goo-doo.
anyways,
Spider-Man,
so we're gonna
Spider-Man.
Putty, you're fired. So we're gonna talk about it spoiler free for a very brief amount of time. So if you just want to hear our general thoughts on it quickly and get a score, we'll tell you when we're going to go into spoilers. So I don't know. I went into this. I mean, I really like the first one. I think without a doubt, the first one is the best Spider-Man movie of all time. And I think we kind of all agreed on that. Or at least that it's top two.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone kept saying this is better, this is way better, this is so good, and yes, I will admit that this is good. I think the first half of this movie is pretty bad.
Yeah,
Really?
I agree with you. They had a villain that went nowhere.
It's more than that. It's you developed a character, and they develop a character immediately, even before the credits roll, with Gwen Stacy.
Right.
And then immediately have the exact same character development for Miles Morales right after. So you're 35 minutes into the movie and you've just watched the same thing twice.
Yeah, that's
very
true.
See, here's the thing. I get that too. The plot wasn't really what bothered me, and I'll get to this a little more later. I feel like the artistic approach to this movie was forced a little too much at some points. And it took me out of it, and especially with a certain part that I don't want to talk about till later.
Yeah,
during that character's parts, I was like, I didn't imagine you being in this kind of world, and it doesn't feel right now, especially since I've developed a relationship with this character.
It felt a little all over the place with the animation and art
Yeah.
style. Like Gwen Stacy had her own pastel,
But that's
And
I didn't want to
awkwardly
give that away,
enough-
but that's what I meant for it to. Yeah.
well, it's at the very beginning, right? So awkwardly
Yeah,
enough,
plus, I don't think that's
the
a
Gwen
spoiler.
universe is so similar to the Miles Morales universe that it took me a
Yeah.
while to even notice that it was different.
But that's my whole point. We got ourselves, and see, this is why I felt like the spoilers. That's why I wanted to wait till later. But when it came to Gwen, we've established ourselves to film like she's in the same type of world that Miles is in. So going into this whole, the way because you think about it, even when like they've shown it in like the video games as well, or not, but one of a Fortnite video game, the whole like animation style that she has. So when I saw, but based on what I had in my brain was exactly like Miles, because they've been using that for everything else. Then
But even in the Miles Morales game, if you use the Spider-Verse suit in the Miles Morales game, cheap plug, I'm playing that right now on my channel. But if you choose that suit, the whole game is that style of like
exactly
like that
for every other character as well, which makes it, which that kind of leads to Putty's point. And I, you know what, I didn't even think of that, but like now that Putty said it, it's a little bit, it gets overbearing because you're constantly trying to like catch. There's so much happening with all these different animations, and you're trying to catch them, right? Because you want to, and it takes your focus away from the movie because you're constantly like, which Spider-Man is that? What kind of graphics does he have? Well, what's going on? What's happening?
Well, since JD put out there, that one Stency thing is a prime example. I expected her to be like a cell shaded something more. So to have this has pastel, I'm like, this doesn't match her at all. Like, what the hell are they doing?
It's very fuzzed. Like it's like very it looks unfinished almost.
And I find it awkward, just quickly. In the first movie, they all have slight differences between them, but they all basically match up in that universe. It's only when you go through the other universes in that movie that you start to see that there's variation, right? But now we find out that all of them live in completely different variations this whole time. So how come in the first movie they don't really all look different?
Well, I mean,
because I think most of the time they spent it in Miles's universe.
Yeah, but wouldn't they still have their own individual look?
He's right.
The only one that had their own individual look was Noir.
Yeah, but he was just black and white. Otherwise, the art style was the same, right? Sorry,
I agree with John on that, and that brings up another point to the whole thing I was talking about before. I feel like a lot of the art style was forced. There were some that I was really excited about. I don't know if he's in the trailer, so I don't know if I can say him, but it's one in particular that they pulled from directly from the comic book. So you see like his items are changing the way they look and everything because like it's from a page from a book. Hopefully you guys know what I'm referring to. We'll get that later. But my point to the whole thing is this. I like that they're trying to go with that creative freedom for it, but now it feels like they're just trying to get the award again for best animated movie.
I mean,
so they're forcing the art in there.
I'm not going to pretend it's bad though. It looks fantastic.
Well, no,
Yeah.
it looks great, but my point to the whole thing is, I actually like the plot and the story of this movie. I feel like I actually enjoyed it. The pacing's better. My thing, the art is what took me out. Like,
I'm gonna disagree with you on something, because I feel like you think that I'm saying the plot of the movie is bad. I think the character arcs in the start of the movie is a complete waste of time, and by the time the movie starts, like, it's a good movie. Don't take me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I was coming in expecting the best Spider-Man movie ever, and I probably got like the 5th best Spider-Man movie ever. But it was like you built up this whole arc that doesn't really go anywhere. I understand it's going to, but then you told us the same story twice for no reason. And by the time the movie really gets kicking into high gear, you've now wasted an hour of my time. And I feel like even when the good parts are happening, the movie's dragging because I've been here for so long. And then
they could have cut back on some of the runtime. And then
obviously we know this, so this is not a spoiler. The movie is just a commercial for part 2, and it gives me shades of Infinity War, of when I was like, oh my God, I watched this whole movie just to find out. I will just watch a trailer for the next movie.
But see, the thing is, I knew that going in, but I
know you know that, but it clicks in more as you get to the end of the movie and you realize, oh, it's just everything's so good now. Oh, I have to wait a year to find out what's going to happen.
But that's the thing. Apparently, it comes out the end of the year, so we're not actually. I heard rumors that
it's next year, same time next year.
Okay.
Yeah, was it April next year? May.
No, yeah, it's like the end of May next year.
Here's my thing, though. I knew it was coming, but for me, because I was so absorbed in the story, I actually, when it got to that point at the end, I was like, oh, and it caught me off guard. And for me, it felt like what it felt like when I watched Empire, that excitement, like, oh, crap, I didn't expect that. You know what I mean? And I know I should have, but I actually just took myself out of that. And I think that made it more.
Well, I knew the movie was going to end on a cliffhanger because I knew there was a second part coming. So you knew they were going to do a cliffhanger ending. The way it ended was a little unexpected. And I
enjoyed the way that it actually ended.
Yeah.
I think, like, generally they did a good job, especially introducing the new characters, and there's a lot of little aspects of the movie that I really like. Overall, I think it's a really well-made superhero movie. I just can't see the logic of people telling me it's the best It's not better than the first one. There's no way this is better than the first one. I mean, if you think it is, that's perfectly fine. But if you're willing to overlook its issues, then this is just purely subjective, and you're not being objective at all. So before we'll go into spoilers in a second, let's just give our scores, because I know Putty has a lot he wants to talk about that are spoiler related. Putty, you tell us first.
I gave my score over there. I'm pretty sure I gave an 8.
Okay, so we'll check out Putty's review as well.
9 out of 10, I think. I think it's a 9 out of 10.
Okay, that's 9 out of 10. Okay, I'll go. I'll give it an 8, a solid 8.
I'm just slightly below there. I'm a 7, 8, 7, 9.
Yeah, I think it's generally a really good superhero movie.
And it's a fun movie to watch. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it is very fun. But
the hype for it is real in the sense that it is a good movie, but it's way overblown about what people are saying. It's like how people are watching the new Guardians and saying it's better than the first one.
First Guardians is still the best one.
Yeah, easily. Anyways, okay, we're going into spoiler territory now. So if that's all you came for, peace out, drop a like, thank you. And so Putty, take it away.
Okay, so there's a lot of high points and low points of the thing. The one thing I was talking about before that people were wondering what I'm talking about, I was referring to Punk Spider-Man, the version where Spider-Punk. Sorry, why did I say Spider? Anyway, Spider-Punk. The parts where he did the animation style where it was like flickering, I thought that was cool. But then, just like you said, I agree. The first movie really didn't point on that when some of those characters should have been more comic book oriented. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, for example, Ben Reilly was a prime example. I love the way they did Ben Reilly. Like, I feel like
Ben Reilly's animation is literally comic book. Like, they just made it like a comic book page.
And it was amazing. And that's what I'm saying. I like
But Spider-Punk was pretty close to that as well, right? It was just cutouts from a magazine.
Well, I mean, but if you go back to the first movie, the only two characters, like we were saying earlier about, okay, yes, Spider-Man Noir was just in black and white, but there was the anime Spider-Man.
Yeah. And
where she was like, that anime was very anime art style, and Spider-Ham was very Looney Tunes style.
But when you compare it to what we're looking at in this movie, where everyone is so extremely distinct, and their whole universe is that way, when you watch the first one, it's like, you don't really notice that as much.
Well, this brings back to the whole art style, and this is where the first time in the movie, outside of the Gwen thing, where I said, "Oh shoot, this is taking me out of it," was the Vulture scene. That Vulture is cool looking, but of course, because of the way he looks, it's forcing it way too much now to where it's too recognizable that it's different. And so then it feels like it's taking me out of that moment. And that's why, because the thing is, the movie was good. It was literally the only, in my eyes, just the art style for some reason. And it's not because I didn't want the art styles, but for me, seeing the Vulture, the first thing that popped in my head, because even the Gwen thing came to me, but this is literally what solidified it. This is like an award Oscar bait. Like it feels like it's trying to Oscar bait because they won Best Animated Movie.
It's also
like,
hand holding. Hey,
yes,
he's from a different universe. Look how different he is. It's very hand holding as well. Like, oh, look at this art style. It's different. We're in a different universe, guys.
And see, this is where the problem to this comes. At first, it's good with the first movie, you have the animation, all the characters look like what you would see in that particular comic book or cartoon or whatever it be. When you get into this one, it's the same thing with some things, but then again, the Vulture thing, name one Renaissance comic book that exists with that character. Nothing. That's
He's
the
a new
point.
character, yeah.
Yeah, my point to the whole thing is when we saw the like PS5, was it PS1 version of Spider-Man, the old Activision game version, all those, yes, that makes sense. That's a world we've seen. Even the Tobey Maguire, the Andrew Garfield, and by the way, the Donald Glover appearance. Oh, I freaked out. I'm not gonna lie.
That was good.
Seeing him play I'm brain parting now. Anyway, my point was
Aaron Davis.
Thank you. Yeah. So my point to the thing is I like that they're doing that. Those were fun, but there was just sometimes, because at least that makes sense. It's part of the canon of a movie and everything else. That whole Renaissance, they're forcing too much is my point.
But didn't he play Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming?
Well, no, that's what I'm
No, he's talking about the Vulture still.
Yeah, I'm still saying, I'm basically saying you're forcing an artistic talent of something that doesn't exist. For a Spider-Man fan, that's going to draw me out of it because it's not going to be like, oh, I remember this. It's going to be more like, what the hell?
I'm going to be honest with
you. The old man Vulture from the original cartoons.
Exactly.
I understand the logic behind your argument, but I don't think it's a strong argument. Well, it's like I don't like this one character because of all these 10,000 fake characters. He's also not real.
Well, no, it's not just him. I'm sure there's other ones out there that they.
There is, but it's like you're latching on to that too much. I do understand your point, though. I'm not disagreeing.
I'm just trying to use that as an example. There's a lot more points of art style that just were forced.
I think the musical score is fantastic, especially Spider-Man 2099's score. I wasn't a big fan of the actual soundtrack. Where the first one had like a really good like new feel to it. It had that original song with the
Sunflower with
Sunflower. This one just kind of felt like, hey, we're going to attach any remotely lovey-dovey sounding R&B hip hop song to the track, and it was like, Well,
I actually looked up the soundtrack because I get hyped for that stuff whenever these movies come out to like listen to the music and everything. And the problem is every song felt like they were just trying to add a little bit edge to the song. So they had like people like Lil Wayne singing rap songs. I'm like, this didn't work. This does not work. Like, I get what you're trying to do here, but it just doesn't feel like what it was before. With Post Malone, all these artists, you weren't doing it because you were just trying to, make him look cool. You were doing it because the music fit the style of the movie.
Yeah, I mean,
this just felt like a shoehorn.
Okay, the Spider-Man 2099 was fantastic.
Yeah.
Scarlet Spider was literally the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I'm glad they actually gave him a bit of a role. Yeah.
Because he's going to be huge in the next movie, apparently.
Good. Let's go.
But the way that they got Andy Samberg to play it was so amazing. Like, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm walking into a laneway. I'm looking around. It's like all thought bubbles, but coming out of his mouth.
And see, they did something I've been waiting for anything to do. And the thing is, this gives me hope that maybe they'll implement this into a Deadpool movie, possibly. But I love
that's what your spinoff is.
No. The thing
this I gotta hear.
I love the informational boxes that they gave, like they've written the original comic books, where they say, like, Wolverine, go check out issue about this old story. Like they were doing that with all the characters, but I'm like, we have all these comic book movies. No one has used that now as a tool in the comic book world, outside the comic book world. And so to see that in the movie, I actually was really happy that happened.
I also liked whenever they introduced the character, they'd have their #1 issue on there.
Exactly.
That was a nice little touch.
Yeah. But that's my whole point. Those are things I highlight that I'm happy they did, and I hope other things.
All I want is for black. Well, not really black. It's like dark blue, black, and white Spider-Woman to exist. Like I saw her for like very briefly for like 2 seconds, but like that's a character that needs to exist in like the actual live action.
2 times I saw Bagman. 2 times I saw Bagman.
I
That's all
saw
gotta say.
Bagman twice as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like all those Easter eggs and stuff is really fun. I really enjoyed
Yeah.
it.
That's
but
Putty's shirt.
It became overbearing. I'll tell you like one moment. So when Putty's saying the informational boxes, there was one part where they're walking through the headquarters and there's just like popping up everywhere. And it's like
that got a
the thing
little
that bothered me is
overwhelming.
because they want you to try and read those, but you can't. And what it's doing is taking your focus away from what's happening in the movie.
True. Yeah.
And a lot of that happens, right? Like I said, it's a good movie. It's just until about the hour and 12 minute mark, the story is really stale. And when you find out what you find out after that, the rest of you realize everything before that was just a waste of time.
Well,
Like,
I mean, we're in spoiler
need any of
territory
that.
anyway, so we can give it away. Like,
Yeah. But if you're gonna tell me about you have the thing like the Matrix where they go in the room and you can see everything that's gonna happen forever,
ergo.
why did I need to know about the Gwen Stacy and her father relationship? Because it's irrelevant now because we know that he's supposed to die, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, the Miles Morales thing, we now know. So why did you didn't the turmoil that it builds doesn't matter after because you're like, well, you just told us everything, so we didn't need any of this.
Yeah, right. I didn't think about that until now, but you're right.
No matter what universe they have to die.
And it's like, but you spent so much time building up this like tension between families only to find out that you could have just verbally told us that in 2 seconds.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, it did drag at certain points. Like I think it was just too much all at once too.
Yeah, it's constantly barraging you with information. Yeah, it's
but
like,
it's also not just constantly barraging you with information, but also the fact it's like
Berserker barrage.
Berserker, right? But in the first film, you had a handful of characters. This one, I think they just tried to introduce too many.
I think the ending, though, when they brought back the original team with the new people, was like that got me hyped. I was like, that's what I came for.
And then they added Spider Bites in there. Like they added other characters that are part of that original roster with Spider-Man 2099, which I like. And again, the whole Prowler twist at the end with him being Prowler and everything. Is that in the books and I just don't remember, or just
not that I remember? But
no, this is a brand new concept.
It feels it felt stupid to me.
Well, I already knew something was off at that point when Davis asks Miles, "Hey, you got rid of your braids."
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean that.
But it seems weird to me that the uncle showed up knowing that he was there, even though he wouldn't have known he was there, and his immediate instinct was to set him up. Like, what?
It's still your nephew.
Wait.
It's still.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
like he was never planning this heist. That was never a thing. He went in there to get him, to bring him outside so that the Prowler could hit him and they could take him to the thing. So it's like, if you didn't know this, how did you know this? And your immediate plan was, I need to kidnap this person
and try to kill him.
Yeah,
and
like
at the same time, he already trusted you. So if you with that being a fact, you could be like, "Hey, let me go talk to you outside, Miles," and then just kidnap him. Like it wasn't even there was like
exactly. It just feels weird. Like I said, there's a lot of awkward moments in this movie that knock it down enough for me that I can say definitively that it's not.
Yeah, and let's talk about the Spot, because they made such a big deal about him in the commercials, and he was literally a nothing character to me.
But he's a nothing character in the comic as well for most of it.
That's true.
He's
but still like
Marvel.
I honestly think that's kind of why they went the way they did, because they were worried that it's too much like Polka Dot Man, so they just wanted to have him in the movie but not be like the main focus.
Yeah, but I mean, I can understand how because he's able to travel through the different multiverses as well, and how he does evolve at the end. Right? He reaches his final form.
This whole stupid situation that we're in is because Miles is just an idiot. Like, not like a Peter Parker, haha, I'm just a goofy guy. No, like an actual stupid idiot. He didn't whatever his name is,
the Spot
tried to talk to him. All Miles had to do was literally stop and talk to him. Instead, he sent him on this fucking rage where he ended up destroying everything. Then, when Miles got to the wrong universe, instead of like being smart and like checking it out, he immediately went and did the one thing he shouldn't have done and caused this whole other issue now.
I just realized they did the Incredibles thing with fucking with Spider-Verse. Remember the whole thing where he's like, he looks up to him and he says, "You made me this villain because you didn't."
Oh, Syndrome.
Syndrome, yeah.
Or even Amazing Spider-Man with freaking Electro. Like, what are they pulling here? They're pulling this whole,
But he wasn't even like a violent villain in the beginning. He was just a goof, and all Miles had to do was talk to him. But instead, he wanted to be like a jackass. Like it's just small things like this about it bother me. They were too confident going in that it was like, it is guaranteed, right? They made a good movie and it's guaranteed money, so it is what it is. But they knew that, and that's my issue there. The voice acting was really good. I think I feel like the movie, you could have knocked off a good 20 minutes of this movie, especially in the early part. Like, you could have just gave us the Gwen thing and then very briefly touch on what Miles is doing right now before Gwen comes back to get him, rather than wasting another 30 minutes telling us the exact same story with Miles's family. Like, oh, he's grounded. Okay, great. He's always late for everything. Yeah, it's Spider-Man. Like, have we never seen a Spider-Man movie? I don't know. I don't really have anything else. Do you guys have anything else?
I mean, I'll just end this. For myself, as far as like the excitement, I think the reason why I'm giving it such a high praise, and I'm realizing this now as we have this conversation, I'm just excited to see so much things in this, and just seeing that whole storyline. Like, I'm excited to see what happens next. That kind of proved the point to the thing. There's just so, for me, nitpicking things has still made it to where I really thoroughly enjoy this, and I still feel like I enjoy this movie better than the first one. As far as being a better movie, I probably agree. Yes, the first one is better, just because it set the mark, and then suddenly they're like, "Oh, we got to go way beyond." Like, no.
Yeah, it set a high bar that it probably couldn't live up to.
But this movie shows potential that the next one could be excellent.
But that's my point. Like, you guys said the same thing, the whole Vulture thing. I felt like that would have been a nice level that would have made it higher if they would have kept it like another Vulture, like video game Vulture, anything.
But it's like, if you think of it like this, what they had to do with this runtime, okay, it's over 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And with all the crap in the beginning, I'm not going to go through that again. But there's so much happening in the second half. It's such like a smashing of information into your head, like hitting you with a brick. You could have spread that out throughout the whole movie instead of cramming it into that last little bit where it's like information overload. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to keep rewinding or like, like in my head.
Yeah.
So yeah. Because of course for me, I was like looking. Oh my God! And I know I missed stuff, which makes me want to go see it again. Which I'm just gonna wait till it comes, digital. But yeah, that's that. But at the same time, is exciting. Like, I kept on seeing, like, oh, is that character? Like, I think I confused a bunch of them because I was like, oh my God, oh wait, no, it's not the what I think it is.
Well, there is a point where they're all chasing him where they do show. I mean, obviously they look the same. Okay, let's be honest. But they do show the same Spider-Man like 5 different times, and I was like, how am I supposed to tell which one is from what universe if they all look exactly the same? Because like you can see like armored Spider-Man in the Mark IV armor or whatever it is, and you can see like Spectacular Spider-Man when he comes out and he's like really short and he has that art style. It's like we get that, right? But then when you had just regular Spider-Man like 6 times and it was a main focal point of that scene, I was like,
but you could have done that so many different ways. You could have made him look like Spider-Man 67. You could have made him look like Spider-Man 83.
Well, we do get that one Spider-Man 67 moment where he's like, I think I pulled something.
Yeah,
and see, we did even get the spot. Like, for example, we got the Spider-Man from the MTV series. Like, there were so many that I feel like some people recognize
I think they're specifically saving 90s Spider-Man for.
Hey, we got Spider Buggy. Okay, we got the Spider
Buggy.
I
know. I saw the Spider Buggy. There was Spider Cat. Like, I mean, it really threw everything at you when it came to this. And
the only thing that was missing was Spider Pig from The Simpsons.
That would have been nice.
I agree. Hey, they could have. I mean, the Marvel Disney deal, Disney owns,
You could have just had Homer walking him across the
ceiling. He's just standing there walking in the background.
Spider Pig.
Okay, thank you for watching, and go check out their channels and